So somebody left a comment on a recent video that I was talking about getting your shit together and some of the stuff that you're not being told about that. And it stood out to me because it was true and it's really important what he said. And I wanted to make a video talking about that. And the comment was, the first step to improving yourself is being honest with yourself. At least respect yourself enough to tell yourself the truth. And I gotta say that that's so true. And I know that for a while, when I was struggling, when I was younger, I had this self-image. I had this idea of who I was rather than a clear picture of who I really was. And as I got older, I kind of assessed my situation and really started picking myself apart and really thought about, like, what were some of my flaws? What were some of the things that maybe I thought I was doing, but I wasn't? And why did I think of myself in one way, but not realize that I was actually not that person? And when I started doing that and I started really kind of looking in as an outsider and kind of taking away that self-bias and that self-image and trying to really see like what I can improve, I realize now that that's when I actually started to see improvements, and I actually started to work on the things that I needed to work on because I had a clear and better picture of my flaws and the things that I needed to improve on. And I want to just kind of talk about that in general. I made a few bullet points and I just want to go over those things and maybe give you guys something to work with from this video, because I realize that a lot of my videos kind of go nowhere sometimes and I just talk about personal stuff, and I want to start actually giving you guys value that maybe you can execute or at least take into consideration and give you a new perspective or give you some guidance on the road to self-improvement and getting your life together like I did. So let's go. Let's get right into this. Being able to admit your flaws and your mistakes and the things that you've done wrong up until now is very important, because what is it, like the first step to recovery is realizing that you're an addict, and denial is like the first step of grief. I don't know if it is, but I think it is. And many of us are in denial about mistakes that we made and flaws that we have. But the truth is that all of us make mistakes and all of us have flaws and all of us have things that we can improve on and things that we can do better and things that might be areas of our lives that we don't really want to be honest about because it hurts. Like, we don't want to really be honest and be like, oh, I'm a loser because I play video games 12 hours a day and then I don't work out and I eat like shit and I won't make any efforts in order to get a job that pays me better, and I'd rather be lazy and not do anything than actually like work hard and improve my life. And the first step is to admit those things and be honest with yourself, and brutally honest. Like, don't be nice to yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself, because you can like fix some of these things, and beating yourself up isn't always the best approach to take. I'm guilty of that myself. I have a bad tendency of being very hard on myself, and I don't recommend that, but I do think that you have to be a little hard on yourself, because again, if you're too lax, then you don't see the seriousness of the situation that you might be in, and you might be like, I'm okay, I'm not doing as bad as that other guy. But the truth is, you have to do better than what you're doing now if you want to get better than who you are now, right? But don't beat yourself up too much. Try to be as honest as you can be without being too harsh, and being as real as you can be about your situation and where you can improve without making excuses. Don't make excuses. Stop making excuses. You know, if ifs were fifths, we both be drunk by now, right? Many of us feel that our situation is our parents' fault. Maybe it's the fault of a bad relationship. Maybe it's just the life you were born into. Maybe there is a little bit of fault with bad parenting. Maybe there is a little bit of like bad luck in the sense of being born in a bad location, being born below poverty, being born to a single parent, being born to a drug addict. Those are all things that I have personally dealt with. Those are all realities that I have faced, but I've been able to make improvements. And I do think that everyone can make improvements. And at some point, you have to stop pointing blame at others, and you have to take responsibility for yourself. And maybe someone else's actions may have dictated where you've gotten to up until now, but where you go is completely on what you are able to accomplish, and you being able to break the old cycles and the bad habits and to get away from the things that have maybe put you in this bad position are all things that you can do, not someone else. And if you are in a bad position now because of someone else, just know that blaming them isn't going to make things better, but being able to see the bad situation for what it is by being honest with yourself and looking at yourself as you are and not as you think you are or as you want yourself to be, but looking at yourself right now and seeing what you can improve. Like, work on yourself, because you can't control those other people, and putting blame on someone else is just another form of making an excuse. So focus on you, because that's all you can control. Don't blame others. Take responsibility for your own actions and start making the changes when you can see yourself for your faults and the areas that you can improve in. Now that you've stopped blaming others, you know where you're making mistakes, you realize your own flaws, and you realize the places that you can improve, it's time for you to start doing something about it, right? Well, the first thing that you can do is take a look at like what you need and what your values are and what you're trying to accomplish. Like, really take a moment to reflect on what you value in life. Is it money? There's nothing wrong with wanting money. I hate when people say that life isn't all about money. Well, only really, really rich people usually say that. And being born and growing up with not having much, I know that the truth is that money is very important, and wanting money is not a bad thing. Just realize at some point, money can't fix all your problems. But if that's what you value right now, taking care of your money problems can really get you ahead in life, and it can give you a certain level of happiness, and it can improve your quality of life, and it can give you security and safety. And those things are all things that you probably value and that you want. And if money is going to be the solution to some of those problems, then put value on that. The thing that money can't buy is your health. You can pay for a gym membership, but you got to take care of your health. If your health is shit and that's something that you want to improve on, like, that's something that you should put top on your priority list. It might be one of the biggest things that you should start valuing more, and it might be one of the things that you need the most. Many of the times our physical health is associated directly with our mental health, and if we don't feel good, we're not going to be in a good mental space. So taking care of those things are important, but I'm not here to determine like what your values and your needs should be. That's something that you need to do, but it's something that you should start thinking about once you've been honest with yourself and you start thinking about what you can do in order to improve your life, and you start thinking about the things that you need to do and the things that you need to prioritize in order for you to get to where you want to be in life. And then take a moment and see what you're doing now to see if those things align with these values and the things that you're trying to accomplish. If you want to be in good shape, if you want to get healthy, but you're eating like garbage and you're not doing anything all day and you just lay around being a piece of shit and not doing nothing, well, obviously your actions are not aligning with your values. If you want to make more money, but you spend your whole day on Netflix or on video games, and you work your minimum wage job and you don't make any efforts or you don't do anything outside of work in order to improve yourself and make yourself a more valuable person, then you're not prioritizing your actions to the values that you have and the things that you need and the things that you want. So you need to start making sure that your actions align with your values and your goals, because if you don't, then you're not being honest with yourself, or you're at least not taking action after you've determined what you can do to improve. And that's really important, because if you don't take action, then you're not going to do anything. And if you aren't honest with yourself, then you're not going to assess your situation, and you're not going to know whether or not your actions that you're taking line up with the values that you have or the needs that you want. The next thing is probably the hardest, right? Because I talked about it a little bit, and I talked about it when I was talking about blaming others. And the truth is that we need to take responsibility for our own actions, and we can't do that until we are truly, truly, truly honest with ourselves about who we are and what kind of life we're living. Admit when you make mistakes. Maybe the old you wasn't like that. Maybe the old you had a hard time admitting when you did things wrong. But the new you, who's being more honest with themselves, takes the blame when they are wrong. Like, that is a grown-up thing to do. That shows maturity, that shows responsibility, that shows being able to own your mistakes. And owning your mistakes is going to provide you a lot of value, and it's going to help you be more honest with yourself in the long run, and it's going to help you improve on those mistakes that you make and help you avoid failure because once you start owning your mistakes, you start seeing where you can improve those mistakes. And, you know, again, it goes back, like, don't shift the blame. Don't try to point fingers. Like, be a big boy, be a big girl, put your big boy pants on and own that. Own your mistakes and work on them. That's all you can do. Like, your mistakes are your own. Maybe somebody else's actions may have led you to not making the best decisions, but just own it when you can, and don't try to blame other people when you know is your fault, and be honest with yourself about the mistakes you make. And the last little bit I want to talk about here is, like, overcome the fear and the self-doubt. It's okay. It's okay to be scared of making mistakes. It's okay to worry about the life that you're living. And it's okay to think like, I don't know if I can do this, but it's not okay to not take action. And it's not okay to be complacent, living a life that you are unhappy with. And if you start being honest with yourself and you start realizing that there's a lot of things that are going to be in your way, a lot of obstacles and a lot of challenges that are going to be hard for you to do, know that you can overcome those challenges, and know that it's okay to be scared, and know that you're probably going to fail, but know that you're going to have to keep working on yourself in order to get over those things. And when you start being honest with yourself, a lot of those fears, a lot of that self-doubt is gonna start bubbling up. It's just part of the process, because when you're honest with yourself, you start seeing yourself for who you really are, and you start getting a better picture of the things that you need to do. And if you're someone who needs a lot of work, and if you're someone who really needs to make some big improvements in their lives, it's gonna be scary. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be tough. You're gonna probably feel like you can't do it, and it's gonna feel like it might not even be worth it. But the truth is, if you are honest enough with yourself to tell yourself that that's not the life you want to live, and you realize that these are the things that you want to do, know that working on those things, you will eventually overcome that fear, you will overcome that self-doubt, and you will get better, and you will get to where you want to be. Try to be really analytical about your fears. Try to really think, like, why do these things scare me? Like, why am I scared of failure? Like, why am I scared to improve my life? Maybe it's because I don't feel like I have enough self-worth. Maybe it's because I don't feel like I'm good enough to be better. And think about that, and then start applying the logical reasoning to how you can improve those things and to why you feel that way. Maybe you feel like a piece of shit because you grew up and your parents yelled at you and told you you were a piece of shit your whole life. And maybe you feel like you're not good enough because you had a toxic relationship and you were told you weren't good enough for a really long time, and now you're trying to work on those things. But if you can, like, step out and see that for what it is and be like, you know what? I know I feel like this because of this, but I know that I can get past it because I'm not that. It's just hard. It's hard. I've dealt with a lot of this myself. I still deal with a lot of imposter syndrome. I still deal with a lot of self-doubt. I still deal with depression and anxiety, but I see those things for what they are. And I've done therapy, and I've done mushrooms, and I've really sat back and thought about a lot of the things that I can do to improve these things. And I've also thought about a lot of the reasons why I'm like this. And now I am better able to see it for what it is and able to work on those things because I have a clearer picture. And all of that has been because I have been honest with myself and have stopped trying to point blame and say it's one way when it's really the other. And I have accepted these things, and now I can work on them, and you can too. And recognize that facing these fears and overcoming this self-doubt and these problems and mistakes that you've made and improvements that you're trying to do, like, all of this stuff will empower you and make you a better person and eventually get you to where you want to be. But that all starts from being honest with yourself. And that was the whole point about this video. And I know that I've kind of gone off a little here and there, but just remember, all of this that I've talked about, this all starts from being honest with yourself. And that's one of the first steps that you got to take if you're trying to get your shit together and improve your life. With all that said, I hope this video was helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.